Hey everyone, in this video, I'll be going back to my roots and making a beginner keyboard and mouse tips and tricks video. I posted a community poll not too long ago and lots of you guys said you want to see the beginner keyboard and mouse tips and tricks videos return, so here we go. Here are 10 simple tips and tricks for beginner keyboard and mouse players. Let's get right into it. The first tip we have is to make sure you're enjoying the process of progression. As people always say, time flies when you're having fun, so you want your progression to be as enjoyable as possible to improve quicker and so you don't get tilted. To have fun, I recommend you hop into creative fills and practice with a bunch of randoms who are usually pretty bad at the game. So it's the perfect practice environment for you because you're able to just jump into a creative fill and go to town. It helps you improve your aim, mechanics, and editing speed while having a great time. So next time you're bored and looking for ways to have fun during your progression, it definitely wouldn't hurt to throw some creative fills into your daily routine. Our next tip is to ensure you have a warm-up routine when you're improving. Typically one that includes aim training, crosshair placement, edit training, and general creative free building. So for aim training maps you could use, I recommend Scavox Aim Trainer. Within this map, it features a variety of sections to improve your aim, including Tile Frenzy, Mongo Classic, and so many more. As for crosshair placement and edit training practice, I recommend Raider 464's Mechanics Practice Map. This map includes a full crosshair placement section, and within this section it shows you red indicators showing you where you're meant to edit for the most optimal crosshair placement possible, and it will also help you improve your editing speed as well. The last section of your warm-up routine is free building. It speaks for itself, but all you need to do is load into a blank creative world and just start building. Free building practice is a great way to master your mechanics and make you a better keyboard and mouse player. A little tip that I want to mention is something that's incredibly important to understand as a beginner, and that is remembering that improvement takes time and you need to expect that. You can't expect to become the best keyboard and mouse player in just one day. It's going to take some discipline to not switch back and forth between keyboard and controller, and that's something that I would actually do as a beginner. I would constantly swap back and forth between keyboard and controller because at the time I was much better on controller and I was getting frustrated that I wasn't seeing any results in my progression. So what can you learn from this? Well, simply just expect your progression to take a while, and don't get frustrated that you aren't insane on keyboard and mouse after just 1 week. It will take time, but I believe in you and you got this. The next tip we have is one you knew was coming, but it's time to talk sensitivity. As with all my videos, when I talk about sensitivity, I never recommend a sensitivity to you, and you're probably wondering why, and well, let me tell you. My sensitivity might be good for Bob, while Dave on the other hand prefers a higher sensitivity, meaning my sensitivity recommendation is practically useless if it can only help out a small group of people. So why even bring up sensitivity in this video? Well, there's actually a good way for you to find a good sensitivity, and let me explain it to you. So what I will recommend to you is that you plan 800 DPI due to the insane skill gap in Fortnite, and if you want to hit your shots consistently and have better aim overall, a DPI on the lower to medium range will definitely help you out. Also, go on the lower end of sensitivities in-game and make adjustments based on how it feels. I know that's probably pretty boring, but it's the truth. Finding your sensitivity is going to require a lot of trial and error, but it's so worth it when you finally find the right one for you. For my next tip, ensure you're using aim duel maps daily. Aim duel maps are amazing for helping you practice your tracking, and they're also really good for helping you improve your movement as well. As a beginner keyboard and mouse player, learning good movement early on in your progression will definitely help you become a better player faster. One amazing aim duel map that I highly recommend because of how realistic it is Raider 464's Aim Duel Map V2. This map includes so many realistic aim duel scenarios such as the high ground and low ground scenario, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're on low ground and your friend is above you on high ground and you aim duel that way. It helps you to practice aim training in more realistic scenarios, and that helps you to improve in actual online matches. Chances are there are going to be a lot of instances in game where you're going to need to out-aim someone on high ground, so practicing with this realistic aim duel map will definitely help you see some major improvements in your movement as well as your realistic fighting capabilities. The next tip we have is to make sure you're using confirm edit on release. If you don't already know, confirm edit on release simply confirms the edit by letting go of left click instead of you needing to click your edit bind twice. This not only is just an amazing setting to turn on in general, but especially since you're a beginner keyboard and mouse player, it'll help you out a lot because it just makes editing a lot easier and faster, and you don't need to click your keyboard more than once to edit. This is optimal since you're more than likely playing your first ever real game using a keyboard and mouse, and using a keyboard probably feels very uncomfortable for you as a beginner, so minimizing the amount you need to click your keyboard is ideal. To turn this setting on, head to your settings in game, click the settings cogwheel, then scroll down until until you see confirm edit on release, then go ahead and turn it on. And now just like that, your progression just got a whole lot easier. The next tip I have is understanding that mentality is everything. I know how frustrating it is getting destroyed in every game when you're just trying to improve and become a better player. I would get very frustrated and take week-long breaks from keyboard and mouse and swap back to controller with the promise to myself that I would never switch back to keyboard and mouse, and then a week later I would come back to keyboard and mouse only to repeat the same cycle until I finally gave it my all and stuck with keyboard and mouse. If you find yourself getting constantly frustrated because either your progression isn't going as fast as you want it to, or you keep getting eliminated in every game, all you need to do is turn off Fortnite for the day. Getting angry and destroying your monitor isn't worth it just because you died in a Fortnite match. You need to understand that keyboard and mouse improvement is a marathon, not a sprint. Take it slow and know there will be bumps along the way, but you need to learn to take little breaks when you need them and don't force yourself to play when you don't want to. For our next tip, it's just to not worry about what peripherals, that being your keyboard and mouse, that you're using. I'm guilty of recommending keyboards and mice to beginner players, and it's always nice to have good peripherals as a beginner, but just working with what you can afford or what you already have is definitely good enough. I promise you can make any peripherals work, but with one exception: your keyboard. If you're using one of those membrane keyboards, you know, the ones you find in your local library or your grandma's house, you need to upgrade that. On Amazon, there are loads of inexpensive mechanical keyboard options for you, and to save you time and money, I'll leave a link to one of my favorite inexpensive mechanical keyboards down below to save you the guesswork of having to pick and choose the best one for you. Our next tip is one that might sound a bit odd, but you need to be uncomfortable during your progression. What I mean is directly putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, like taking as many fights as possible and pushing everyone you see. This will help you become a more confident and better player quicker. Another thing I recommend is that you hot drop. Just like the other tips, like pushing everyone you see, you're gonna die a lot in the beginning, but this is about gaining confidence and getting practice with taking fights. By doing all these three things, you're going to improve so much faster than if you were to land on a completely random part of the map super far away from people. You want to do all these things because they're going to help you become a better keyboard and mouse player so much faster. Now for number 10, and arguably one of the most important tips I can give you, but it's don't stress over what keybinds to use. Keybinds are totally subjective, and what binds work for one person may not work for the next person, and it's the same thing I said earlier in the video with sensitivity. Don't worry about copying Fortnite Pros, your favorite creator keybinds, because you think they'll make you a better player. Find some keybinds you feel comfortable with and stick with them until you become a decent player. The more you switch your binds in the beginning, the harder it will be to see improvement because you're constantly needing to relearn how to play the game, which is effectively setting you back to square one. So find some keybinds you feel comfortable with and keep them. Only change them when you're more established as a player, because then they'll be a lot easier to learn because you already have basic knowledge of how to use a keyboard and mouse. Anyway guys, that's gonna wrap up today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, a like and subscribe is greatly appreciated. If you would like to support me further, consider becoming a channel member or using my supporter creator code Cozmos in the Fortnite item shop. It would help me out tremendously, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.